Let's use some motion tweening to animate our character rig in Adobe Animate.
TipTut.
You can download the project files for this tutorial by going to tiptut.xyz and clicking on the resources page. Hello everybody and welcome back to TipTut and welcome to another Adobe Animate tutorial. First things first, I will apologise for there being no webcam for this one. I overheated, it doesn't seem to be turning back on. I hope it's not broken forever. Although you don't really need to see my face in any of my tutorials, people have said that they do like to see me on camera, so I apologise for this one being without that. However, with that being said, let's crack right on. We have created in a previous episode this little character rig here inside of Adobe Animate. It's not terribly important that you're following along specifically with this rig. We're just going to go over some concepts of how to use the motion tweens with a setup character rig to do a little bit of animation. If you'd like to see how I set up this rig, please check out the other episode that I've linked in the description and in the cards now. And you'll be able to follow along hopefully and draw this little guy yourself and put together the rig in the same way we've done here. This episode, we're just going to cover animating it. So without any more further ado, let's crack right on. I have about 24 frames of animation here, and we're going to be using motion tweens to make this guy sort of shrink down a little bit and then rise up in shock as if he's seen something shocking on the phone that he's holding. Part of a larger animation that I may or may not make a series out of, but that's a story for another time. Let's take our legs here, which is the base of our character rig. If we move our legs, it moves everything here because it's all parented together correctly. And we covered this in the last episode. I'm going to right click here and just choose Create Motion Tween. And about 12 frames in or so, I'm going to shift my character down a little bit by the legs. And as you can see, that will move everything else. And it will also create a little motion tween path here that if we choose to with the selection tool, we can hover over like so. If I lock these other layers, we can hover over it and adjust the movement path of our character. So for example, now he'll go to the right a little bit. Do we want that for now? No. We want it to be straight down. However, that may come in useful for you later on, so I thought it's good to show it. Now, at the moment, it's just a straight linear up and down motion, yeah? Blech. Looks kind of boring. What we want is to add a little bit of easing to this. Now, this is where the beauty of the motion tween comes in. If you double click on your motion tween, it will bring up a small graph, which I highly recommend you create bigger by clicking this button. And that will show you the motion of every single keyframe that you've got applied to that animation. At the moment, it's just got a location keyframe. You can see on X, nothing happens, but on Y, we've got quite a lot of movement from point 1 to point 2. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to select our line here and choose this little icon to add an anchor point on the graph. And we're just going to click in the middle somewhere. Using that anchor point, we can adjust the curves of this to affect not only the motion, but the speed as well. So if I were to drag these points like so, you'll notice now that our character will kind of ease in and out of the animation. Bop. It's slow, fast, and slow. Now, adjusting this also adjusts the position. You can see that the line before moving upwards in speed actually curves down a little bit, and here it curves up a little bit past its initial keyframe point. And if you actually notice, really, if we zoom in quite a bit, you'll probably notice that the character does rise ever so slightly before hovering down. Now, I'm happy with that. It adds a little bit of anticipation. If you don't want that, you can do something that we're going to do later and add some easing using this graph here. For now, though, this will do. I'm just going to make sure to fit this in the window so we can see everything. Okay, so we have our guy start to come down. Also, at this point, we're going to want to start animating our other elements as well. Probably the body. Definitely the body. So we're going to double click and close off that graph. Let's grab our body and we'll right click, create motion tween. Double click here to open it up. Again, you can expand to fit the view like so. This one, we're just going to have it shift down and we're going to have this one maybe still be linear. Okay, because the body is attached to the body, it actually moves with the body and we're just having it close off a little bit so that it can spring back up later without showing a lot of the hips. So that's a good amount of movement there. Let's close up this guy. We're not too bothered in the rest of that. However, we do want the arms and elbows to rise a little bit, I think. So if we grab our rotation tool, we can see we want it to sort of lift up like this. So let's animate that. We want it on the 12th frame. So let's hit right click, create motion tween. And let's double click inside. Let's first rotate this arm up just a little bit, like so. And let's double click inside that. And for this one, because we don't want to add any extra motion to it, I'm just going to click add ease and we're going to choose an easing. Now there's all sorts of crazy eases. If I were to show you this one, for example, it's going to go out and then back in and then out again. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. So we don't want to be adding anything that's too crazy. We do want to be adding is a simple sort of stop and start, which, as you can see, creates something similar to what we did earlier. However, doing that, fast to slow. Okay, now that's done it without affecting the path. So that's added a nice ease without affecting the path and movement of our initial animation here. If you don't get the exact thing that you want, you can go down to custom and you can create something that suits your needs more. Maybe something like this. And then double click to apply. And you can see it's added that custom ease. Now that's fine. A little bit, we want to start a little bit earlier. So we can just bring this guy over. And maybe we'd have this guy shorten up a bit. And now, boom, that looks pretty good. Okay, happy with that. So we're going to go to close off that view, maybe go to our wrist view here, which is under hand, right click and create motion tween. And then on this keyframe, we're just going to rotate him out. Oops, excuse me. I moved my whole character. We're just going to rotate him out just a little bit to bring that wrist into alignment. And we're going to take the left forearm with a motion tween as well. And we're just going to bring it back down. So he's still looking at his phone, but his arm has risen. Let's see what that looks like without any tweening, because the less we add, the less work it is. Kind of looks weird, okay? So if you want that to move in the same speed as your other one, you can double click, add ease, and go down to your custom ease that you just made. Oh, excuse me, I didn't actually apply it. Let's see if we can copy that from the previous custom easing. So we have this custom ease here. Can we copy that? Copy, maybe? Let's see. Control C there, and let's see if we can apply it to this ease as well. Add ease, custom. No, it doesn't look like you can. Okay, that's a little bit annoying. You might be able to save these. Save a custom easing. But for now, what we can do is just quickly recreate the easing that we did make. So we bring this up here and down here. If you do know a way to save these, please let me know, because I actually don't. That'd be really useful. You'd think you'd just be able to right click and just hit save, right? But it's Adobe Animate, so it's never going to be that simple. Boom. That looks a little bit better. Of course, the wrist. Actually, the wrist looks quite good because it's reacting bloop, bloop, bloop to the initial one. You're getting a nice little bounce out of that. So I think I'm gonna keep that. I quite like it. So we've got our character shrinking down. Bloop. Yeah, that's nice. Bloop. Let's add in the other arm movement, just a little bit of it. Close off that one there. Let's get the arm right bicep and add in a motion tween. Let's have him just rotate out a little bit because it's quite shocking. Yeah. And let's do the same thing here. Motion tween, and his arm would kind of be like, ooh, like that. A little bit of rotation. Let's also just shift his arm up a little bit, just a touch, because it kind of, the way I drew it, it kind of looks a bit janky because that was never really meant to be seen. So let's add in here with a double click, a bit of easing. Let's do another custom one. And we'll probably try and apply a similar style of custom easing to this because we want it to move in a similar way. But like we saw before, doing this one at a time kind of adds a little bit of uniqueness. Whoa. Obviously, we're going to have to do that to the forearm as well, because to the bicep, sorry. Did I just apply that to the forearm? I did. I just applied that to the forearm. I meant to apply it to the bicep. Oh, let's add this to the bicep and see what comes up. Adjust this speed graph here, like so. And again, we're doing this on the easing graph because we don't want to necessarily affect the position and pathing. What? That looks pretty good, apart from it kind of seems to drop off just a little bit too early. There's no movement at all there. So we want to add in a little bit back of that movement, I think. Let's apply that. Oh no. Cool. Let's do the same to the forearm. Again, seems to drop off just a little bit early. So let's bring some of that back in. Oh. I don't know if I like that. Let's see if we can undo it. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. Oh, I'm shocked. What I've also got inside this character's skull on the head here are some frames. So you'll see if I select my character's skull and I go over to frame picker, I've got a single frame. And inside there, I've just got some different expressions. Oh. So this one, we'd want him to start closing his eyes. Okay. So about here, let's go to frame picker, object, frame picker, boom. Let's pop out frame picker so that we can more easily select our frames. Let's have him start to squint. Another couple of frames on, let's have him really start to close his eyes. And let's move that a bit later. Oh. It seems to me that his head isn't really moving with his body there. So I'm just going to double check that I've attached sketch. It's because we've not motion tweened. Ooh. So what we actually want to do is his head to move with it. His head is currently attached to the body. So yes, it does have a parent. But because we've added these keyframe changes, it might look a bit weird. So let's remove those keyframe changes first of all. Clear the keyframes. So he's still got the single face. Let's add a motion tween because now his head's moving with it. Okay. And then let's see if changing these frame pickers here is going to break that. Okay, then it doesn't break it. So you just got to do after you've added a motion tween so that it follows the head. Why is that then? Oh, it doesn't then let you move the frames. How odd. Why not? Let's see if we can solve this. Let's clear all these keyframes. Bam. We have a motion tween that is we don't need anymore. Remove motion tween because it's following that head. I think what we need to do is I don't know. Let's leave that part of it for now then. I'll try and figure that out later. I thought that would work. Maybe if I turned this into a symbol inside a symbol. So if I went F8 and converted this to be like skull outer, because then inside there would be a single symbol, which I can give a timeline to. And inside there will be a frame picker with my different expressions. So if I then go up to skull outer and then back to scene 1, I can know that on frame 6, inside of the head, I can add a keyframe, which is going to be a squinter. And then 2 frames later, really squinter. And then if we go up 1, yeah, it'll follow. Oh, nice. Okay, so that's how you do that. You have to pre-compose almost like it's in After Effects. So you have a head that follows our layers now, and then inside that layer we have enough frames to do the facial animations, and inside there we have our frame pickered head with 4 different expressions. Wow, okay, we solved it. Good. I would, however, now that I've done that, like to add a motion tween where the head does lower a little bit. We'll also add one to the jaw, where the jaw starts to like crump up into his mouth, and then on the first one we'll have him be a bit lower. Oh, and he's like, oh, that's crazy, that thing that I'm seeing on the phone. Okay, so we've got our first bit of motion where he goes down now. We're happy with that. Let's have him pause for a few frames, and I'm just going to add in, bam, a new keyframe. Now, one thing we could do, or could try to do, is can we remove a motion tween? No, it removes it from the whole thing. Okay, that's fine. Shouldn't affect it anyway because we've now got a blocker keyframe. What that's going to do is stop any motion, so it's just going to pause for those 2 frames before we have our character jump back up. Okay, So let's get on with the jumping back up. Let's go to about frame 24, the last one, and let's shift his legs up a little bit. If I go to show frame, and I just close that frame picker, you can see I've got a bit of leg room. Pretty good. And we've added that tween back in now, so he's jumping back up. Boom. That's a linear thing, and if we double click that, we'll see that we've got our curve here, a stop in the motion, and then more. So that will be not on rotation Z, that'll be on position Y, or location Y. So you can see we have our motion here. All these other things we've got selected are things that we have done. We might have rotated or skewed at some point, and they've just created that, but they haven't affected any keyframes at the moment. So you can go back to location Y, and we're going to add in a curve because I like that overshoot that happened before. So we're just going to move over a little bit, and we're just going to see if we can add in a little bit more of that overshoot. Is that going to make him jump? Yeah, it's going to kind of make him bounce, but that's okay. So what we can do is grab this section and flatten that out holding Alt. Up, and then he might bounce a little bit again. Yeah, so what we actually want is we don't want a curve here in the middle. So we can undo all of that with Control Z. We want to select this point and have it jump up automatically from there. So let's see if we can't add in a point here and just have him jump. Excuse me, it's difficult to click this. There we go. Have him jump up like that, because then he's going to jump in the air. Oh. We've got a static keyframe. He's going to shrink down a little bit and bam, back up. So what happens if we do it this way? He's just going to shoot up and then slow down. Okay, bam. That's what we want. So the direction up or down on this curve does affect it, which is good to know. So let's just add in a nice smooth curve here. He's going to overshoot a little bit there because we've gone past it. So he's going to go up and then just settle ever so slightly. If we zoom in, we can see that. Look at the top of his skull. Got him shooting up really fast and then just moving down ever so slightly at the end. And that's because of this curve that shoots past the position of this a little bit. If we were to take this here and move it just enough, just enough that it doesn't shoot over that section, he's going to shoot up and then stop without coming back down. I quite like the overshoot though, so we're going to keep that. Let's see what it looks like as the whole thing. Looks good, but I think we need a few more frames to work with. So let's close all these off. And in here, we're just going to hit F5 a bunch of times to make that a bit longer. Yeah, he definitely needs to be like a longer gasp. So that's fine. We can have him shoot up. Boom, like that. It's going to be a real quick motion. Yeah, nice. Oh, okay, good. So we've got that pause. It's going to be shooting up like that. Now we want the arms to sort of extend back down and the head to really rise and the jaw to really open. So let's close off this guy and give ourselves a bit more room up here to see. So we've now got our body, which we want to rise up. So we'll go to the last frame. We'll select that body and we'll just pop him back up a bit. See what that looks like. Looks pretty good. Whoa. Okay, you can just see that there if you watch the genes, how more of those genes come into view. Very subtle, but I think it looks good. We want to rotate this guy back behind the body and bring this guy back flat. He's almost like just dangling down in shock. Nice, that looks pretty good. Nice. It's going to look a lot better once we animate the skull and the eyes widening, obviously. We want this arm to just drop. And this wrist to just drop. Oh, God. Making sure that we're on the last frame. Ooh, I didn't quite draw that arm well enough. It looks quite weird. So we won't have the arm drop all the way. We'll just have it drop like this and then have his hand go like, oh. He doesn't even want to look at it. He's so disgusted. And we'll just close that off a little bit so we don't get that little bit of the background in. Oh, that's quite nice actually, like that. Ooh. I'm happy with the arm movement, but the wrist goes on for way too long. So let's take the hand here and let's double click to open that up. And it is linear. We're going to take a rotation. I think it will be on Z. And we'll just add a anchor point. And I'll try and remember which direction. Yeah, we picked the right one. Good. So we now have it move fast to slow. So it settles into that a little bit easier. All right, nice. Let's close that guy off. Head and jaw is the last bit then. This is where the fun really begins. So we can, because we have pre-composed or re-symboled, double symboled the head here, we can just have this head go bar. And I've drawn a little bit more of the neck so that I can have him really come up. And the jaw is going to cover up the missing bones here. So let's have him really come up like this. And let's just see if we can animate location Y. Let's add in a frame to this. And if we just drag it out, it should go really fast to slow. So we actually want that to go the other way. Oh, there we go. Oh, he is going to look really good. So I'm actually quite happy with that. Bam, really fast and slow. Bam, nice. I'm going to stick with that. The jaw we're going to add in now. Just going to have it really drop off like, oh my God. I'm so shocked. I kind of like the fact that it's like a slow gasp, but we'll add in a bit of easing here. Pop. I think down. Is that going to be correct? No, it's the other way. Up. And you'll actually notice what we can do. Yeah, there you go. It really pops. It almost doesn't move, and then within the space of 1, 2, 3 frames, it's because the head's moving up. It's kind of like really snappy, like. All right, sweet. Last step then is to go inside our head and to just. Boom. I think it's going to have to be really wide from this point, isn't it? So if we go this frame here inside our head, you can see that that's on the same correlated frame. If we open up our frame picker again, we can go slightly wider. And then on the next frame, or we're animating on 2s for this here, I want him to go like really wide, like, oh! And then maybe settling back down. Let's have a look, see what that looks like. That looks brilliant. Okay, he looks very shocked. And I think I'm happy with that. Let's save and test our film with Control Enter. And I've still got my sketch activated, even though it is hidden. I think I can go to Publish Settings here and just choose in one of these options on Swift. It'll be Don't Include Hidden Layers. Okay. And there you go. Nice. And that looks like our very shocked young Skelly boy. I might try and make it a perfect loop. And there might be a really cheeky way to do that. Let's give it a go. I'm just going to hit F5. And maybe after a few frames of pause by just hitting F6 here, I'm going to grab all of these keyframes and holding Alt. Oh, excuse me. Holding. Is it Alt? No, it's not Alt. Is it Control? No. I'm going to right click and copy frames. And then I'm going to paste them over here. I don't know if this will work. Bloop. No, it'll just snap him back to the beginning. So how would we do this perfect loop then? We could probably... We've got this kind of almost frame. If we F6 them and hold Alt, that seems to work. Which means this might go back into its original position. And then if we grabbed all these and we just added a really simple ease, simple medium, maybe. Oh no, that's going to affect it weird. Let's undo that. Just have it be linear. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to leave it linear, but I probably would go and add in a custom sort of ease there just to fix that. Boom. Yeah, that should allow it to be a perfect loop. Oh, pretty much. All right, that looks pretty great. Well, that is how you do some basic character rigging animation inside of Adobe Animate. Hopefully you enjoyed that. What I might do is I'll definitely pop this source file up on the web page so you can download it from there, and I'll make a note to add that to the start of this tutorial as well, so you know. And hopefully you've enjoyed this tutorial quite a bit. I've enjoyed making it for you, so I hope you enjoyed watching it. Thank you very much, everyone. I'll see you next time on TipTut, and have a lovely, lovely time. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, make sure to do it right and enjoy yourself. All right, that's enough from me. See you later.
Remember to subscribe for more tips, tricks, and tutorials. Thanks for watching.